Hey Team Grimmie, Scott here. We've all had a chance to watch the final video with Adam, and we all loved it. I'm not doing a reaction video, but I'm doing a behind the scenes, you are there kind of video, explaining what I saw, what we felt, and the whole shebang there. Now this video may take a little longer, because I'm going to try to explain in as much detail as I can what happened, because I know Team Grimmie, like myself, we want as much information as we can get, or like Johnny Five said in the movie Short Circuit.
Input, more input.
As I said, we're going to walk you through the experience as we had it. And I say we because I met two wonderful young men, Bobby Brake and Austin Kennedy there. When you're doing a video shoot like this, of course this is my first, I'm talking like I'm a pro. Yeah. When you're doing a video shoot, there's a lot of downtime where you've got nothing to do but talk to each other. And so we started talking, and I found out that Bobby worked not too far from where I live, and later found out he lived only 4 miles from where I do. And in this Dallas-Fort Worth area, you know, whole thing's probably about the size of Massachusetts. That's kind of a coincidence. And after talking a little bit, he turned to me and said, "Hey, can you give me a ride home? Otherwise, I'm going to have to take the dark transit home, and then somebody from my house is going to have to come pick me up." I said, "Sure, I'll take you home, no problem." And I also ended up taking him home the following Friday after the concert. More than happy to do it. I wanted to take him, but he found transportation down there, so I brought him home. Austin is a student at UTA, University of Texas at Arlington, here right between Dallas and Fort Worth. And he's got his story about what Christina meant to him too. And he did a blog on it, and I'm going to put that link down below. I might even scroll it here. I don't know. But it turns out Austin's also a go-getter, because he talked to Christina's brother Mark and got Brian, her manager's number. And just before Christina passed away, he had reached an agreement for Christina to come do a show on the UTA campus as part of a fraternity event, and that was supposed to be this month, September. And I definitely would have been there. But he's an energetic young man, and he's going to go far. Another thing that we all got out of that night is the friendship. I've got two friends that I didn't have before that night, and we chat from time to time and text back and forth, and it's all due to Christina. She created great music, she created friendships. Christina tweeted out at the end of January, beginning of February, that she was going to do a video shoot here in Dallas, and she needed extras. So I put it down on my calendar. I think I tweeted back that I'll be there. And then on the 24th, I believe the day was, I went down there. She had tweeted that where it was, which was at the Granada Theater near downtown, a place we call Lower Greenville. And it's an old theater that really doesn't show much in the way of movies anymore, but mostly for live music events. And she wanted us to be there at 4 or 5 o'clock at the latest. I got there a little bit before 4. And I was planning on maybe doing a video vlog of it, and so I did a couple short takes, one in the car and one outside, and then found out that they weren't going to allow cameras inside, which was okay. I fully understand that. They didn't want that being filmed. They didn't need the distraction or anything, so I took my camera back to the car. And what was good to see is everybody honored that. I didn't see cell phones coming out and videoing while she was performing or anything like that, so that was all cool. Good people there. Well, we sat around. I got there around 4. Sat around, chatted with some folks here and there. And actually I spent about the first hour sitting on a raised curb there, taking a load off my feet. And it was a beautiful day to be sitting outside. February for half of you in the U.S. and a lot of the world, bloody cold. Not here, it's probably in the 60s, light jacket weather and sunshine, and we were loving it. About 5 o'clock, I think it was, some of is either production crew or staff from the theater came out, had to sign a waiver saying, you know, we can use your whatever we video and we're not getting paid and we're all happy to sign that. And then they put a wristband on us, and I think you've seen the wristbands on the wrist there in the video. So we had that, and so we waited around some more. 5 o'clock came and went, 5:30 came and went, and probably a little bit before 6, they had us all come inside and sit at some tables that were set back from the stage. As it turns out, they needed us inside so they could send Christina outside and film out there that very first entry deal into the theater that you saw.
I think I'm in love. I think I'm in love. He might have bent me, but I didn't break. He rearranged the map I made, but
So we saw Christina while we're sitting at the tables come down off the stage and go up the side aisle. And they must have spent about 20 minutes out there. And when I came, I took a bunch of pictures, but I didn't have a picture of the Jessica Blue sign. All that was taken from the other side. But Austin, as chance would have it, took that picture, and here it is. So that was all set up when we got there, and we didn't have a clue what that was for. Didn't even dawn on us. We just figured there's another group coming later. The sign I took a picture of has Rachel Platten and some other stuff on there, which was the concert Christina was doing that Friday. So they spent about 20 minutes, maybe 30, doing that outside, and they had to do it at the specific time because the theater faces west and it was dusk, and they just got some perfect lighting for that. They timed it perfectly. Well, Christina then came back in and went backstage, and they spent some time backstage setting things up, because the next hour plus was all done backstage, and that's those scenes you see with her standing in front of what appears to be a board, and I think that's got logo stuff for all the different groups that have performed there. That's all I can figure out, because if you look off to the right, you see the concrete block wall, so they had all that set up back there. And so they were doing that. Meanwhile, on stage, this was a large crew, folks. This wasn't a simple shoot. This was a large crew. There were at least 10 people there, if not more, 10, 12. There was a director, an assistant director, and all kinds of cameramen, of course, and all kinds of people going back and forth. I swear there was one person, their only job was to walk back and forth through the curtain to the front and the back, because I have no idea what they did. Every 20, 30 seconds, either out or back. So that was kind of goofy. And everybody was standing except the director. He had a chair, and they had a monitor set up for him. And then when they were doing the takes, the full music without him was coming through the speakers loud and clear. Very loud and very clear. And so they ran through the song 4 or 5 times, and then they would stop and say, okay, let's do this. And then there would be a segment of the song that would play, and it would play again. So there's a lot of this involved, and I'd never seen this before, and it was really kind of interesting. Of course, now we're not seeing it, we're just hearing it and watching everybody on stage doing their work. At one point, they must have changed up the set a little bit behind. And then the director asked the assistant director, who just came back in from behind, saying, well, is she ready? And the assistant director said, she was born ready. So I think we all know the work ethic Christina had and how she was a perfectionist. So, and she's done a lot of work up to that point, so yeah, she was ready. And it was just after that, and this clip coming up. Let's watch the clip and let me tell you about it.
free will, but I don't even care at all. Can't seem to fight this, needing them every day and night. Why can't I just try to speak my...
But during the filming of that, and the segment went a little longer than the clip, the director was watching that on the monitor and listening to it. And he was getting into it, and he started back and forth, and then he actually got up and started dancing around. He was loving it. And we're all wondering, oh man, why can't we see that? But he was loving it, and I think that's probably the take they use most of. But as you can tell from the filming, they do a lot of takes because there are a lot of different camera angles, and all the editing that goes into this is amazing. Well, they finished shooting behind stage, and they took some time. It took about 30 minutes to set things up for the stage shots. And during that time, Christina came back and forth some. I think they worked on her makeup some, and she chatted with the director where he was explaining what he's wanting from her and everything, and she's sitting there listening intently. And at one point, I think one of the crew's wife came up and had their son with them, who's definitely under 2 years old, and the son was running around on stage a little bit, having a good time. At one point, Christina picked him up and started parading around and even maybe doing a little dance thing with them. And they were having a good time together, and you could tell Christina loved kids. And that was fun to see. It went on so long, the father finally had to come over and get his kid, because I think Christina had to go back and do some more get some more makeup stuff done to come back out and do the shoot. Now the shoot was a 4-camera shoot. And that is pretty complex, folks. That's just as complex as what you're going to see on TV and probably even The Voice. They probably had 4, maybe 5 cameras. And I'm going to plop a picture in here. There you go. The first camera was set up on a tripod behind where I'd be standing, and it was a little bit higher, and it was a long shot camera. Camera number 2 off to my left, where I was standing, stage right, was on a boom so they could move it around. It took a good 15 minutes to set that camera up on a boom, get the boom in, and because that's a big counterweight thing, expensive piece of equipment. The third camera was a handheld shoulder mount, and there was a guy who during the filming was moving all around, mostly behind me, as you probably saw, taking those shots. And the fourth camera was a Steadicam. It was, a guy with one of those deals and Steadicam and everything. So it's a 4-camera shot, so it was pretty sophisticated. Well, sometime after 8 o'clock, they turned to us, the extras, and they started having us come forward and arranging us, and there were some actors and actresses involved too. There were 2, I think maybe 3 actresses that they had up close to the stage off to my left, which would be Christina's right, and those are the ones you see in close-up. Here's a picture, and you'll notice I'm not the only older guy there. There's a guy on the very right there, and he's probably in his 50s, I'm in his 60s, so Christina's music spanned the generation, so to speak. So those girls were doing that. And then the other actor, who was her boyfriend, he was off and to the right, and you don't see him until the end. And then they put me, the old guy, in the back. They probably didn't want to see my face up front. As it turns out, you barely see anybody's faces. But they put me next to 2 actors who were playing studio executives, and these were young kids, early 20s. Studio executives, yeah, right. And at one point, the director told the cameraman, I want a close-up on him, and there you go. I want a close-up on just the 2 of them, and you guys talk back and forth. Well, apparently that got cut, and I think I know why, and I'll tell you about that later as we get further in. There may have been another possible storyline that they were filming at the same time about her getting a contract versus him getting a grant. This is just conjecture, because I thought in the instructions when he said, you 2 talk about, the contract or something like that. So I may have misheard it and or, misunderstood the intent of it. So this is all conjecture. Then they gave us instructions on cheering, and he said just be a good audience and do what you normally do, and we may tell you every now and then to do something special, and we'll instruct you then. But what's amazing is for our little group there, movie magic made us look like a whole crowd, and that was kind of fun to see how that turned out. Well, the next part is probably a little bit of a blur for all of us, because that's when Christina came out and did all the takes. And it's like being at a concert, and you can see from our reactions, we were acting very much like it was a concert, because to us it was. Music was blaring loud, she was lip-syncing to it, and they did the entrance take a couple times, and then she ran through the full song two or three times, maybe more, and with little breaks in between. And we also got to see the Steadicam guy. They took some separate shots with the Steadicam. And that's interesting, because he's up close, the Steadicam, but it's not just one guy with the Steadicam. There's a guy back behind him, always with his hand on his shoulder, kind of guiding him, because the Steadicam guy, he's concentrating on what he's doing. He's looking at that monitor, and he's walking around getting the shots he got. Remember, he's on a stage. He was one step from falling off that stage, and that's what the guy behind him was doing. He was guiding him, and at times he had to push him to keep him forward from falling off the stage. So that was fun to see. I'd never seen that before, and it was fun to see him do that. But they did 3 or 4 takes on that. At one point, the director said, "Let me do this," and he took the camera from the cameraman, and he did the steady cam work while she sang the song. And again, people behind him, I think there were 2 people behind him this time, making sure he didn't fall off. That was fun to watch. I learned a lot that day. Steadicam stuff, one thing I noticed, when they were shooting, they went all the way around Christina, so they shot from the back and the front. They didn't use any of the shots from back behind, so you didn't get to see any crowd faces. I didn't think they could use those because it would have shown us too small, so I don't think those worked, but I think they wanted to get the motion around, and all the shots are from the front. And that was kind of cool to see. Now the camera behind me, I think I was aware of him moving around, but I wasn't keeping an eye on him. But you can see in some of the clips in the video, the long shots, you'll see his monitor. And that's okay, you know, part of doing a stage act is you might be being filmed, so it worked in perfectly. And so he was behind me a lot, and that's my one big scene right here. Yep, there I am. I made it a point to do the rock finger thing as much as I could, because if that got filmed, I wanted it to be Christina Grimmie specific, not just generic, yay kind of stuff, Grimmie specific. So I got that short little clip, and I'm thinking now maybe I need to become a professional back of the head and hand model, because that's all I got. And I counted it up, the back of my head or my hands appear in about 9 of the different little itty bitty cuts. Some of them so fast you can barely see them. You see the back of Austin's head, he was just pretty much right in front of me, maybe a little bit off to the side. You get to see him a few times. And Bobby I'll talk about later. That little sneak, he got the FaceTime. After all that filming was done, they took another break to get set up for that final scene, the close-up where she's kneeling talking to the actor. And at that point, the director came by, because there was a break there, 15-20 minute, and he said, "Let's get those 2 executives who want to get another shot of them." Well, one of them had left. And so I said, "Hey, what you really need is an older, more sophisticated executive." Yeah, they didn't buy that idea. And so they didn't get the shot, and maybe that's part of the reason why those 2 guys weren't in the final cut. Could be, just conjecture on my part. But I had my chance and I didn't get it. At this time, it was getting between 8:30 and 9. It was getting closer to 9, and the director started hurrying things up. He said, "We got to be out of here at 9." So obviously they only rented the place for so long, and they had to get out of there. And then they set things up. They were using a boom microphone and dropping it down over Christine and them, and they took 4 or 5 takes, and in between takes, the director would have Christina say something a little bit different, a little bit here, a little bit there, a little bit of inflection. And it was pretty quiet, and I still couldn't hear what they were saying. So I had an idea, and remember I said spoilers, I had an idea that, you know, she was getting a contract or getting to do her thing, and didn't know exactly what was going on, but I knew how it was going to end in that respect. And while they were doing all that acting, they had us faux clapping so they could have some action, and they told us all just to clap like this, no sound, don't hit it. So we're all just kind of doing that or doing that, and they didn't want any sound of us. We had to be quiet, and that was kind of interesting. You're sitting here, all right, I guess that'll show up on camera, okay. But they all was so close, there was only deal. Now Bobby, that little sneak, look at this still. Okay, he got, see right above Christina's right shoulder? That's my friend Bobby Brake. And so he's the only one of us that got any FaceTime there. So he's right behind her there, and he got some FaceTime. Good for you, Bobby. After that scene, he had her do a couple quick ones over by the girls at the very end there, you know, saying hello to the fans and you know, all that kind of stuff, and that was good. And that wrapped it. After that, Christina made it a point to thank we extras thank us for coming out and taking our day and doing that. And she had a special thanks for the crew because they've been shooting for 4 days. This was a Wednesday, and they started their shooting on Sunday because there were tweets and pictures, if you recall. So they've been shooting straight for 4 days, and it's a long day. And my goodness, that whole thing, all those 4 shoots, that had to cost a ton of money. I have no idea, but $20,000 or more. Everybody thinks these artists make a ton of money. I don't see how they can with all the expenses involved. And you know, Christina had a stylist / makeup person help and everything like that too. So, and manager. So it cannot be that profitable of a business until you really get big. But when she did something, she did it right, and the quality of that shoot just shows that. After that, the theater staff rushed us out. You know, oh, bye, go. So we were all filing out the front. Little did I know that my friend Austin, he had a poster that he was hoping to get Christina to sign, and she went up to one of the guys he thought was a production guy. Turns out to have been Brian, her manager, and explained, you know, and he said, oh, you go outside and tell everybody to hang out a little bit. Christina will want to meet each and every one of you. And it hadn't been for Austin, that might not have happened. Thank you, Austin. We all got to go in and see Christina. Austin got to tell her his story, and again, check out the blog for his story. It's pretty impressive. Bobby got to do his thing, and I know many of you already heard my story about why Christina means so much to me. I always loved her music and her personality, but what really cemented it was in early 2014. This was after The Voice and just before the tour, probably towards the end of The Voice, yeah. But my wife hadn't been feeling well, and she went to the doctor, who sent her to the cardiologist, and on a Friday afternoon, as the song goes, bet you don't curse God when the doctor calls with a stern voice and the test results and he asks you to come in right away. But as a Friday afternoon, we couldn't see him until Monday. That was a long, long weekend. And that song kept me going through that weekend and through the ensuing weeks until her successful heart valve surgery. And so I got to tell her that. I went in to see her, and I practiced this spiel a little bit because on the chance I might get to talk to her after the concert or after this, I didn't have a clue, but I knew time would be limited. So I got in there and we hugged, and then I said, you know, you've made a difference. Your song, I bet you don't curse God, helped me keep my sanity, my composure, and my faith from the time that the doctor called with a stern voice and the test results all through the ensuing weeks to my wife's heart surgery. And she was touched by that, and she hugged me again. And then you see my picture back there. We took that picture, and then just before I left, I turned to her and said, you have made a difference. Not many people your age can say that. And she gasped, and she almost lost it, almost cried, and a couple other people that were standing around kind of gasped too. And so she gave me another hug, and I left. And so that was the end of that night, but we got to see her again two nights later. At that point, we all met outside, and Bobby and I said goodbye, and I drove Bobby home, and we were listening to Side A and chatted a little bit on the way home and just enjoying that evening and chatting about it. So I've made some friends there, and I hope you guys kind of feel like you were a little bit at the video shoot too, because in her heart you all were, because Team Grimmie was there. So this last video, it ends one chapter of Christina's legacy. But we've got the movie coming up, and that'll be in some theaters in the US. I don't know about overseas, but it'll certainly be on DVD. all of Team Grimmie should be able to get to see that movie some way or another. Don't fret. And who knows, maybe there's, and this is pure conjecture, who knows, maybe there's some more stuff coming out. Maybe we saw her singing on stage in the trailer. Maybe there's a soundtrack album with a few of her songs coming out. We can only hope. Maybe there's some hidden gems, some unreleased stuff that is coming out. We can only hope. But this is the end of one chapter. Yesterday I heard a quote at a retirement party, and it's amazing how life does this. Sometimes life will drop things in your lap at just the right time. And it's a quote by an American children's author, Dr. Seuss, who did the Cat in the Hat books, and did stuff I used to read to my son at night. He's got a lot of quotes out there that are very good. Let me go ahead and read this to you as you look at it. Don't cry because it's over. Smile because it happened. And that's appropriate for this last video of Christina's, and it's appropriate for her life. Don't cry because it's over. Smile because it happened, and we get to share it. And there's more to come, hopefully. As the movie comes up, or as the movie comes out, I'm certain we'll all be talking again. I may post some things if I can think of some stuff in between. Don't know. Maybe I'll start posting on some other topics. Don't know. But one thing I do know, I've got Team Grimmie with me forever. I'm with you guys forever. Another thing I know is Team Grimmie is super strong. Not just strong, super strong. So I'd like to bless you guys and gals of Team Grimmie, the Grimmie family, and our little nugget in heaven. This is Scott, signing off until next time. Bye.